Okay, so good afternoon or good day, should I say. So this is a pre-recorded lecture on the topic the teacher as school culture catalyst. So if you recall, our um, course is entitled The Teacher in the Community, School Culture and Organizational Leadership. So part of the concepts that we have to understand in this course, of course, is school culture. Okay, so that is why if we look into the roles of teachers, it's not confined to their roles toward the community, no? But at the same time, their roles also as school culture catalyst, no? And hence our topic for today. Okay, so in this topic, we will be talking about uh, the bureaucracy or the structure of schools. Okay, um, part of what we will also be learning on this particular um, topic. Perhaps I would show the objectives, because it's actually subsumed under the objectives. So as what I've mentioned earlier, you will be learning concepts that influence school organization as part of a larger organization in response to community context. And as has been mentioned earlier, you will be looking into the structure of schools, no? Um, Therefore, the school organization. Okay. Um, we will also be looking into the functions and roles of the different stakeholders, no? um, as part of the objectives. But definitely, um, in the topics, you will be acquainted as to the organizational culture of schools. No? So what it meant by organizational culture. Okay. And given the fact that we are changing due to globalization and internalization, there's also what we call changing school culture. So we look into this as we proceed into the different slides. No? Although this is quite a long topic, and hence if you happen to look into this slide, the very content of this slide would be more on the structure in schools. So perhaps that is where we um, focus, no, given this particular slide. Okay, so the rest of it, perhaps for another discussion proper. Okay, but meantime, what we will be looking into, or what we will be underscoring in as far as this PowerPoint presentation is concerned, would be more on the structure in schools. Okay, so we start by, of course, looking into this paragraph. I don't know if I could move. Ayan, sige. So teacher leaders are the type of educators that fall under the motive of potentially taking on additive responsibilities that will help to improve the school community. Okay, so this is quite a um what do you call this? In terms of how how it is written, parang uh, I don't know what part of a speech I could say. But anyway, if we are to look into how teachers function, okay, they are not mere indoctrinators, or they are not mere source of knowledge, no, but at the same time they serve as teacher leaders. So meaning to say, in their own um at their own levels, no, they have characteristics, or even functions or roles along leadership, no? And this is what I have been telling you during the first time that we meet in this course, no? So this course is envisioning that that you would become not only as classroom teachers but as uh, future leaders, no, of your very own education, of the very own educational institution to which you will be affiliated later. Okay, and hence if that's the case, then apart from being mere classroom teachers, you are also, or part of what is expected therefore is that you would assume leadership roles. Okay, and this in one way or the other would not only help your schools but the community at large. Now, by infusing shared leadership in the school community, responsibility and accountability becomes a shared belief that can be utilized as a catalyst for change in the school community. No? So uh, there had always been adages about teaching as a profession. Okay, so most likely, or what the general public might not have articulated is that teaching is um, sabi nila, di ba, it's the noblest among the profession. Siguro they were not able to, yeah, that's a fact, no, considering the many roles of teachers, but teachers themselves are also what, leaders, no? So anong pwedeng ano natin, um apart from being a profession, it could also be an avenue to actually um for you to develop your leadership skills. Okay? So, ano ba ang concrete example or context nito, no? When you age in service, ibig sabihin as you um, grow in the teaching profession, um, supervisors or those in the top management would also give you leadership roles because probably they could see in you the capability to do so, no? So this is what it meant in this particular topic, that um uh, in the school culture, since we are talking about bureaucracy, we are talking about roles and responsibilities, um, part of what you can assume, no, as one of your responsibilities would be your leadership responsibilities. Okay, so we look into how is it in terms of the structure ba in schools. I don't know if since you are given the chance to go personally, observe and interview in the schools which you have chosen for your task, for your final requirement in this course. I'm sure you were able to um, realize that there is a structure in any school or sa kahit anong organization actually, no? So be it a school, even in the barangay, there are structures, no? Ano ba yung structure? Meron tayong sinusundan na tawag dan proseso at struktura kung sino ang may responsibility ng kung anong task, no? So even in schools, these are manifested. Like for example, in the administrative level, no? I mean, in any school, there's always an administration. So who is the head of the school? Okay, like siguro you have interviewed a principal, okay, a school principal. To some other schools, wala silang principal, siguro meron silang head teacher or master teacher or officer in charge, no? So whatever they call it, no? And the thing is that there is one or not only one, but there's a group which we call administration. So as to what roles do they have in that particular organization is of course defined um, based on the structure and processes, no, that are observed in this particular institution. Okay, so we look into how is it in um, Philippine schools, in DepEd, kasi yun ang frame of reference natin dito in the Department of Education. So the structure of any school is defined as the sum total of the way in which it divides its labor into distinct tasks and then achieves coordination among them. So sa kahit anong institusyon, meron tayong tinatawag na organizational structure. Kung aakyat kayo sa admin building, pag akyat nyo from the registrar, di ba sa baba yung registrar, pag akyat nyo, makikita nyo din doon, bago kayo makapunta sa office ni Campus Executive Officer, meron silang pagkalaki-laking organizational chart. Okay? Nandoon yun mismo ang tinatawag na organizational structure. Ang makikita nyo doon ay mga pangalan ng tao at mga posisyon. So for example, from the office of the president down to his vice presidents, down to the campus executive officer, from the campus executive officer to its campus directors, from the campus directors to the deans, from the deans to the different program or department chair, no? And from the different program or department chair to the respective faculty members. Okay? So ang binanggit ko sa inyo ay struktura ng organization ng CSU. Okay? Pag inopen ninyo ang website ng CSU, www.csu.edu.ph, meron din tayong organizational structure doon. Makikita ninyo in fact kung sino-sino o kung ano-anong mga offices o posisyon, no? At ang tinutukoy nitong school structure or structure of the school is that there are different tasks that are expected. Like say for example, if you are a dean, what are your responsibilities being an academic dean? So makikita din ninyo yung coordination. Meaning to say that these people coordinates from one another. They are to what? To establish a synergy. Dapat merong collaboration. Hindi pwedeng away-away tayo. Hindi kita kailangang kausapin or what. There would always be, well, in any organization, for that matter, there are goals or that there are what we call vision and mission that has to be concretized, no? And the only possible way to do that is that these people in the organizational structure must work hand in hand. There must be what we call a synergy among them. Okay? So they have to collaborate, they have to coordinate from one another so that they are able to perform the tasks that are expected of them. Okay. Now, there is what we call bureaucracy. What is this concept of bureaucracy? It is a large, formal, secondary organization characterized by a hierarchy of authority, a clear division of labor, explicit rules. Masyadong mahaba ang ibig sabihin ng bureaucracy dito. Pero ang ibig lang niyang sabihin, guys, is that in any organization, for that matter, or in any institution, there is a structure. Okay? So, yung hierarchy of authority, pag nagdesisyon, no? When an organization comes up with a decision and when this decision is being implemented, no? it always looks into a particular hierarchy. So who decides, for example, at CSU, the deciding body is the Board of Regents, the Board of Regents. No? And the Board of Regents is a composition of different representations or representatives. Like the student representative, for example, no, is a member of the Board of Regents. No? Sino bang student representative? Yung president ng inyong federated USC, University Student Council, the Federation of the University of parang ganon. Kasi federated yung ating ano. Anong ibig sabihin ng federated? Sa bawat campus, meron silang president. May president ang campus student government. So sa lahat ng campuses, kung siyam na campus yan, siyam na presidents ng campus student government. Doon sa 9 na presidents na yon, they have to vote among themselves who will lead them. Okay? So meaning to say, from the presidents would out of the elected presidents, there would be one who is hailed to become the president of the University Student Council. Okay? And the one who is elected amongst the presidents, no, student presidents, will be the student representative in the Board of Regents. Ganon din po sa faculty. No? Nabanggit ko yan noon, I think, in one of our discussions. So, there is a bureaucracy because there is a hierarchy. Okay? From the Board of Regents to the designated officials of the university level. From the designated officials of the university level to the designated officials of the campus level. Meron bang division of labor? Of course, merong mga iba't ibang responsibilities that go along with the designation. Are there rules? Definitely, there are. Should they interact with one another? Of course, there must be a need. What for? No? Sabi dyan, to improve efficiency, to ensure equal opportunity, to increase, no? To improve and increase efficiency is just but one. Okay? Now, we proceed. Now, there are, what's this? Okay. These are theories, ano, in terms of the bureaucracy that is being observed, no, among schools. Okay. So we have the classical Weberian bureaucracy. We also have the HOI, Halls Organizational Inventory, and then the formalization of structure. No? So these are theories, okay, and even the coordinating mechanism by Mintzberg. Now we look into each of the theories. No? So we have the classical Weberian bureaucracy. Okay, this is by Weber. According to Weber, there are 6 major principles of how an organization could be managed effectively and efficiently. Okay? So any organization like school, no, would aim that its vision and mission would be concretized and that its very purpose, no, as an organization, as to why it existed as an organization is being accomplished. No? So as to how, then Weber is giving us 6 major principles through his classical Weberian bureaucracy. One is authority hierarchy. Okay, so sabi dito, in any bureaucracy, a manager's formal authority derives from the position he or she holds in an organization. Okay, so authority emanates from the position. Like the deanship, no, is the very source of the authority of deans. No? And if you look into our academic manual, there are enumerations of their responsibility as academic deans, no? So kumbaga parang sila yung immediate uh, authority figure in a college, no? So, yung authority that emanates from the dean is enlikened to the authority that emanates from the president. What do you mean, ma'am? Like, since they are the head of the college, no? It is as if that they are to discharge authority which are authority which are what do you call that, of course their aligned to the college that they manage, no? So in particularly in terms of the fourfold functions of the university. So ang context natin guys ay CSU as I give the example. Pero mamaya titingnan natin yung organizational structure ng DepEd kasi definitely ang PEI, no? Um, that is referring to CSU, ang ating ano naman, ang ating direct client, no, ay si DepEd, no? Kasi saan ba kayo mafi-field? So sa DepEd naman kayo mafi-field. Okay? So authority hierarchy, and as I mentioned earlier, meron siyang hierarchy. Ano ba yung hierarchy? May sinusundan tayong leveling. No? So from the campus level or from the college level to the campus then to the university. Ganon din pagdating ng decision making, ha. Pati yung flow ng communication. Hindi pwedeng umakyat agad ang communication sa campus nang hindi ini-endorse ng college. So for example, in our case, I wanted to, for example, attend to a I wanted to attend to a seminar. Okay, so before it reaches the office of the campus executive officer, it has to my request for attendance to the seminar has to first be endorsed by the dean. Ibig sabihin, dapat ay alam muna ng dean na gusto kong mag-attend ng seminar. Okay? So based on, of course, faculty development plan. So hindi pwedeng pupunta-punta ka nang hindi siya anchored o aligned sa faculty development plan. Okay? So ganun din naman ang alam ko, pagkakaalam ko sa DepEd, no? Like sa DepEd, hindi pwedeng pumunta sa DO, Division Office, ang communication ng isang faculty member nang hindi siya dumadaan sa kanyang principal. Okay? So, or head teacher man kung head teacher ang in charge sa school. Okay? Now, we proceed. Ay, sorry. Hindi pala natin natapos pa yung ibang ano. Okay. So, formal rules and regulations. So, ito yon. Nakalakip sa mga manuals. Academic manual, administrative manual. No? Lahat ng institution merong mga manual of operations. Nandun ang mga rules and regulations. Say for example, kapag merong complaint ma'am against the faculty, no? Ano yung reference, no? Meron tayong code. Tawag diyan, usually ang ating ang ating rules and regulations pagdating sa mga ganyang bagay ay nasa administrative manual. Okay? So how does administration um remedy or resolve, not remedy, resolve cases, no, of complaints against faculty members, say for example. So, meron tayong SOP. In fact, lahat ng offices ay merong manual of procedure. Okay? Quality Procedural Manual, yun yung tawag natin dito sa CSU. Okay? Now, Division of Labor. So, nakikita naman ninyo siguro yan na merong ito pala sa bawat faculty, meron tayong performance targets, no? So sa CSU ang tawag doon ay IPCR. I'm not just sure sa DepEd, but definitely ganun din 'yon, no? Parang performance commitment, no? So you are committing as a faculty in terms of what you are to do. based on the division of labor. So halimbawa, meron tayong fourfold functions: instruction, research, extension, and production. Ano ang pwede mong i-commit doon? So halimbawa, kung ang target ko, sige, I will, in the division of labor, ang naka-assign sa CHK, for example, ay merong tatlong research or may tatlong researches in one rating period. One rating period is equal to 6 months. So semestral tayo. So, in one semester, for example, if there are 3 researches which formed as the target of the college, then ano ang mai-commit mo doon? Okay? So, pwede ka bang mag-commit based on ano bang basis ng pag-commit mo? Yung feel mo lang, ganon. Feel ko kasi makagawa ako ng research ngayon. So, magko-commit ako. Ganun ba yon? Hindi po ganun yon. So, ang commitment po ay based on rank. Like, say for example, the higher is the rank, the higher is the expectation. So, especially if you are supposed to do research based on your rank. No? So, those in the associate professor or even in the assistant professorial ranks are expected to do research. So that's why if you are to give, if for example, there is a college strategic planning, then the targets as to research must be given to those with those ranks. No? So, yan. Division of labor. Career orientation. Okay? So, ginagawa ba yan, ma'am? Meron din bang orientation ang mga bagong miyembro ng CSU community? Yeah, ginagawa din yan. Lalong-lalo na kung permanent, no? Kung nabigyan ka ng permanent item. Para saan? Para maging aware ka sa kung ano ang dapat inaasahan sa iyo ng CSU. No? So, not only that, you will be living by heart the vision and mission of the organization, and that you will be knowing somewhat your expectations in terms of your career progression in the organization. But so that it would be clear in you, what the organization expects of you. Impersonality, rules and procedures are impartially and uniformly applied. Oh, I don't know if you agree unto this, but this is the principle. Okay? By principle that there is impartiality, and that should there be rules, it must be uniformly applied, no, with no one receiving preferential treatment. Kunna pay niya, alikurog pay niya. Okay, but anyway, yun yung principle, no? Ang ibig sabihin noon, inaasahan na walang kinikilingan. Ibig sabihin, dapat kung merong halimbawa nakalagay doon na ito ang kaparusahan kapag ang empleyado ay ito ang violation, then wala pong kinikilingan, wala pong, hindi po porket malakas o malapit sa paanan ng Diyos ay hindi na mabibigyan ng kaparusahan, halimbawa yung faculty, kung siya naman ay na-prove na merong na-violate. Okay? Formal selection process. Positions should be occupied by people based on their performance. Wow, that is too this is very idealistic, no? Bakit, ma'am? Hindi ba yan ang nangyayari? Well, wala naman kung sinasabing ganon, but this is the standard, this is the principle. That if and when you are given a permanent item, that is because you have performed well, or that in terms of the qualification, you are above or at least at par, no, with the indicators. Okay? That when you are promoted, that means that you are a performing employee. Okay? So, hindi lang sa selection, pati sa promotion process, dapat merong fair treatment. Okay? Ano pa? That is according to Barbarian bureaucracy. So, kung ang isang organization hindi kakikitaan ng mga ganitong characteristics, somewhat, siguro hindi si Weberian ang kanya, o hindi si Weber ang kanyang hindi siya yung framework ng organization na yan. Okay? Now, we also have Hall. Okay? So what about this? It's what we call organizational inventory. It is used to measure organizations or organizational bureaucracy. So like for instance, the bureaucracy that is observed in schools or the various characteristics of bureaucracy. So this inventory provides information on areas related to control, how previous experiences impact decisions, how rules are followed and enforced, and to what extent a school is departmentalized. So there are four organizational types based on Hall's theory. So we have Weberian structure, authoritarian structure, and professional structure and chaotic structure. So what do we mean by that? Professionalization and bureaucratic bureaucratization. Sorry. Professionalization and bureaucratization are complementary, meaning to say both are high. So this actually happens if all the indicators that was discussed in slide 8 are present. Bakit? Kasi makikita mo yung emphasis niya on professionalization and bureaucratization. Authoritarian if uh, more on compliance to rules, no? Compliance to regulations and directives. So this is the emphasis on how employees comply and even on how the manner to which the administration is in control of to its stakeholders or particularly to its subordinates, no? In a manner that the subordinates would comply to rules, regulations, and directives. Professional structure if the rules and procedures serve only as guides, no, not as a strict formats that has to be applied, no. So kumbaga parang medyo leniency, merong leniency. Meron mang rules and regulations, but that these are simply guides, no? And should there be non-compliances, these are the employees not complying are given leeways, no? 'Di ba ganun naman? So yung democratic approach, no? That definitely should there be non-compliances or should there be violations, there's what we call um giving of what? Giving of chances, no? Because perhaps we believe unto concepts like human considerations and all. Okay? Chaotic structure, low degree of bureaucratization. Okay? Ito na yon yung wala wala nang compliance to rules and regulations, wala pang structure na sinusundan. Okay? So, we also have formalization. This is from Hoy and Sweetland. Okay? So, the formalized organizational structure focuses on roles and positions rather than the people in the positions. So, ginagawa din natin ito. In fact, in our manuals, in our administrative manuals, the one that you could see that is enumerated and presented are the roles and positions and not the names of the people currently holding the position, because in any organization people come and go. Okay, kung napansin ninyo after 3 years natapos yung term ni Ma'am Tihada. 3 years ba? 6 years, no? So, after ng term niya, we were led by another leader in the person of Engineer Arthur Ibanez. So, this is rippled, no? Ibig sabihin, from time to time, the people holding the position would simply retire or die or transfer to any other agency of the government, no? And hence the position is vacant, no? The position actually is or could be um that there could be other people who are eligible for the position. So meaning to say, if you are to if you are in formalization, the structure is simply just focusing on the role and the position, not on the people who occupy the position. Formalization of an organizational structure is commonly initiated in an attempt to rationalize the decision-making process. So formalization refers to the management of an organization through written rules, regulation, and procedures. So somewhat it is also since theory siya sa bureaucracy, no? It also lays down um authority and um yeah, from the term rules and regulation, it lays down what must be observed by people in the organization. Okay? And as to how, no, kasi kasama rin yung procedures. Ano pa, there are two kinds of formalization. We have coercive and enabling. From the word coercive, no? Coerced, no? um, it is negative. Uh, it has a negative connotation because when you are coerced, you are forced, no? Like you are forced to comply because if not, you are to be punished, no? So from the term itself, it sets procedures or rules that punishes and attempts to force compliance. So that if you would not comply, no, you will be dismissed, no? Eh syempre sa konteksto natin hindi hindi ito yung ginagawa kasi actually from if we are to look into how is it in our context, eh um if there are non-compliances, there would be there are corresponding well, it's true that there are corresponding punishments, but definitely this is only after due process, no? So it is associated with bureaucratic rules, procedures, and regulations which restrict employees' autonomy by forcing them to display compliance behaviors and punishing those who do not comply. Although, kuminsan, o hindi kuminsan actually, ito ay nakadepende din sa leadership style ng administrator. Okay? Kung ang administrator ay authoritarian, no? Medyo meron din siyang pagka-coercive, no? Like if the whims and caprices of the leader or the administrator were not followed, no? An authoritarian leader could easily make use of the rules and regulations, no? As a defense, no? In punishing employees, no? So, siguro kailangan nating i-ano din yun, i-consider din yun. But anyway, sabi dito, the dominance of coercive rules and procedures in bureaucratic organizations have a negative impact on collaboration, motivation, communication, and organizational trust. Of course, no, who would want an administrator who is punishing or worse is who lives by the book? Okay lang kung straight kang administrator, meaning to say you live by the rules, but definitely, no, if this is the case, then your employees or your subordinates would of course be very stressful, making it sure that how they behave or their manners in the organization are not violative of any rules or any regulation. Otherwise, they would expect for punishments. So, di ba, bakit gusto nyo ba yung ganon? Highly motivated ba kayo kapag ganon yung environment nyo? Na yung konting kamali mo ay merong memo, no? At syempre, it may also impair trust and communication, no? So, if you are, especially if within you are colleagues nga agsipsipot kayat da kayo nga mapanis, kayat da kayo nga maikanti memo, o ti awan ti obranan or part of the functions na ng mga colleagues ay agsipsipot no anya ti violation mo tapno si kakit may kanti memo, no? So are you motivated if you are into that environment, no? Uh, are you willing to still collaborate or cooperate, no, in the concretization of the goals of the organization if you are into that organization? Okay? So, talaga ba? Sino ang panito, researcher niya? Estudyante ba ito? Estudyante? Ay. Okay. So, organizational rules in coercive formalization reinforce employee compliance behavior, punish those who do not abide by the rules, and closely control. So, itong kind ng formalization na to ay highly controlling. Oh. Gusto nyo ba ng jowa na highly controlling? Gusto nyo ba ng boss na highly controlling? Ayan, yun yung mga tanong na kailangan pag-isipan ninyo. Another is the enabling. So a flexible set of best practices that enables one to deal more effectively with inevitable problems. Well, let's face reality. Ang mga tao ay hindi robots. Ang empleyado ay hindi robot. Na once na kinontrol mo kung saan mo gustong papuntahin at kung anong gustong ipagawa ay gagawin at pupuntahan. No? So we are human beings and there is dynamics, no? Whenever in fact we grow more in our profession if we see that um, employers or administrators, no, or our superiors, no, are also what do you call that, looking into our welfare as employees or as their subordinates. So enabling formalization refers to the construction of rules, regulations, and procedures in such a way that enable employees to solve the problems they encounter, to take initiative in organizational processes, and to continue professional improvement. So these are the very characteristics of an enabling formalization. Meaning to say, while you are given the discretion to decide as employee, because of course whenever there are problems or perhaps when there are issues that has to be resolved, you are given a part and parcel, no? 'Di ba? Merong ownership kasi meron kasing sense of ownership kapag tayo ay tawag niya, pag tayo ay merong na i-contribute sa organization. Okay? So, mas lalo tayong nagte-take initiative kapag feeling natin ay your efforts were being recognized, no? You were able to do something and you were recognized. Okay? And when you are given chances to improve yourselves professionally. Okay? So, in enabling formalization, the bureaucratic rules are more flexible and the employee needs are taken into consideration. Meaning to say, before you are punished for any violation that you have, no, it seems that you are given the chance to explain yourselves and that your circumstances and needs are being taken into consideration. So, in an enabling environment, hindi ka basta-bastang minimemohan kapag ikaw ay nagkasala. No? Kumbaga, meron munang mademokrasyang pag-uusap at yung boss ay um, um, tawag dyan parang would find ways to actually know your circumstances, no? So at kung mafa-find out niya na meron namang justifiable reason kung bakit meron kang violation na ganon, then um the administrator or the boss, the superior may consider, no, um giving you a reprimand, no, instead of issuing a document that would be against you, no, through a memo, that would be taken against you through a memo. Okay? So Hoy and Sitnan also argued that enabling formalization assists in encouraging employee collaboration. Ito yung mga advantages niya. So yung kanina, yung coercive, negative ang impact. Ito naman ay positive. So it bridges what? Collaboration. It brings about mutual trust and respect. And of course, it brings out the employee's initiative. No? Okay. Now, we also have enabling and hindering structures. So this what we call enabling organization, enabling hierarchy and rules. So this could be some take of points to consider for any organization to be an enabling or to have what we call enabling formalization. So two-way communication. Big sabihin kapag may nagsumbong sa'yo, pakikinggan mo yung circumstances nung isinumbong. Hindi ka bigla-biglang magka-come up na ng decision at what? Ipe-prejudge mo na or meron ka ng prejudice dun sa isinumbong sa'yo. View problems as opportunities, no? Because in any organization, there would always be issues and problems. But if these are taken as opportunities and not as threats, no, or risks, then it would be more beneficial rather than harmful. Seek mutual solutions. So you are not a the sole you don't have the sole autonomy in decision making. Instead, what? You decide democratically. You listen to what your subordinates say in terms of how to solve issues or problems that beset the organization. Support differences, practice openness, embrace the unexpected, and correct mistakes. So these are some. Meron pa actually. Hindering naman. So what makes it hard for employees not to comply or what makes them demotivated, for instance. No? So we have imposed top-down communication. Ano yung top-down communication? So parang directive lang. So this is what I want. Kuna ni Dean, for example. So ito yung memo. Wala kayong ibang gagawin kundi mag-comply. So it blocks communication definitely kasi ang communication is one way lang from top to bottom lang. It view problems as constraints. So kabaliktaran kan nung mga naunang na-present kanina. Okay? Then we also have Mintzberg coordinating mechanisms of structures. So Mintzberg is a management theorist and researcher in the field of organizational studies. No? So what is this coordinating mechanism all about? It refers to the methods or processes through which different parts or elements of a system work together in an organized and efficient manner. These mechanisms help ensure that activities, efforts, and resources are synchronized to achieve common goals. Okay? So synchronization, yun yung ginagawa ngayon ng CSU, that with the many endeavors toward ISO, um, accreditation and all, ito ay mga paraan o ito ay mga mechanism na ginagawa ng school para tumaas yung level natin pagdating sa SUC leveling at para yung mga targets natin ay ma-achieve natin. Okay? So with of course lesser resources, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na effective and efficient. Okay? Effective meaning to say ang ating mga pamamaraan ay epektibo sapagkat naabot natin yung ating mga goals. Efficient kasi wala tayong sinasayang na resources. Okay? So, in various contexts, including education, these mechanisms play a crucial role in achieving desired outcomes. Okay? So, how? Okay, sabi dito, organizations can be differentiated along 3 basic dimensions. So the key part of the organization, that is the part of the organization that plays the major role in determining its success or failure. So meron tayong mga indicators. Halimbawa sa CSU, meron tayong mga key result areas, no, sa CRA, no? Sa SUC leveling, ano yung SUC leveling ba, ma'am? Pagdating sa ating mga goals o sa ating mga targets, ano yung indicator na ang organization ay nag-succeed or nag-fail, halimbawa? Kapag along research, ang tinarget niya ay 10 at naabot niya ang 10, ibig bang sabihin successful na yon? No? Actually, in evaluating the performance, yung attainment ng 10 research kapag 10 ang itinarget ay hindi 100% yun. No? Kumbaga, parang there is just a portion of it. But if you want, most likely, no? But if you want higher performance, parang you don't just target or you don't just concretize what is targeted. Meaning to say, kung 10 ang tinarget mo, kung pwedeng higitan mo pa doon, okay, saka mo lang masasabing, okay, so successful siya. Bakit? Kasi mas nahigitan ng output yung target. Okay? The prime coordinating mechanism, the major method the organization uses as to how do you do it? No? What's your method of doing it? So, do you delineate tasks? How do you delineate tasks? To whom do you give the task, for example, dun sa mga kakilala mo lang o dun sa mga kaaway, yung mga medyo hindi supportive sa administration, sila yung parusahan mo kaya sa kanila mo ibibigay yung target, ganun ba yon? Okay, so merong mekanismo, merong paraan ang administration on how to do it. The type of decentralization used, the extent to which the organization involves subordinates. Okay. So when you make decisions, is it in a way that your subordinates also contribute in the decision-making process? Okay. So using this dimension, okay, Mintzberg suggests that the strategy of an organization adopts and the extent to which it practices that strategy result in 5 structural configurations. And what are these? Okay, you have this one. Right? So, ito pala yung details nung itong tatlo. So, the key part of the organization, we have the strategic apex, that's top management, the operative core, that's the workers who actually carry out the organizational tasks, the middle management, no? The technostructure, meaning to say, mga administrative support tong mga to. And then the support staff, no? Yung mga administrative staff. Okay? Under prime coordinating mechanism, or you just have to read that. Also with the type of this decentralization. So there's what we call vertical, horizontal, and selective decentralization. So vertical decentralization is the distribution of power down the chain of command or shared authority between a superordinate and subordinates in any organization. Okay? So is it from top to bottom or the same level? Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng vertical? Patayo o pahiga? Pag sinabing vertical, that is what? Patayo o top to bottom. So from superiors, superordinates to subordinates. From superiors down to their subordinates. Pag horizontal naman, same level. No? So colleagues, halimbawa kami teachers to teachers. No? The extent to which non-administrators make decisions or shared authority between line and staff. Okay, selective naman, okay, yung mga designations, delegations na. Okay? So, for example, pag may mga tasks, like say for example, the upcoming anniversary of CSU. So may delegation of tasks, no? Selective decentralization. Just simply to carry out the tasks. Parang ad hoc committee. Okay? So yung last few slides ay mga pagpapakita na ng organizational structure ng DepEd actually. No, bakit DepEd? Kasi syempre ang target ninyo later on would be um, one of your targets would be DepEd most likely. So this is the organizational structure of the DepEd at the national level. National, and then we have on the next slide would be the regional, and then in the division level. Okay? So dito makikita natin yung mga posisyon. Sa bawat posisyon, definitely ay mga tasks, duties, and responsibilities. No? Yung mga line na yan, that's an indication of who is in charge or who takes command over whom. No? So to whom do you report, for example? No? It depends upon whether you have a full ba yan? Full line or broken line. Wala namang broken line dyan. Dito wala ring broken line. And also with the chart, organizational structure in the in the division level. Okay? So this is all for now. Next meeting, we will move on to another topic. Okay? So I hope you were able to learn something out of this video lecture. So thank you and good day. I will now stop share, and then I will now stop the recording.